Hartson was born in January of 1917, the second child and only daughter of Paul Hartson and Isabel Blanche. Paul worked for the WWII Case Threshing Machine Company out of the company's Portland, Oregon office. After graduating from Portland's Washington High School, Mary soon left for Washington, D.C., where she worked as a clerk in the Federal Security Agency's General Counsel office. Now, you see, that agency was in charge of food and drug safety, education funding, public health programs, and also the Social Security pension program. In the spring of 1941, the Civil Aeronautics Administration, forerunner of today's Federal Aviation Administration, awarded Mary a scholarship that gave her enough time and enough money to earn her private pilot license. It was called the Civilian Pilot Training Program. You see, Europe was already moving toward war, and there was a sense that if war broke out, the United States might need more pilots for self-defense and also combat pilots if the country was ever drawn into that conflict. After a year of learning to fly while still working, Mary earned her pilot license and applied for the WASP program created by aviator Jackie Cochran. 6 months of learning to fly the Army airplanes in the Army Way in Sweetwater, Texas. Mary graduated September 11, 1943, receiving her wings personally from Jackie Cochran. Now, initially, the WASP were expected to ferry new and repaired aircraft to various locations in the United States where they were needed. The idea was to release male pilots to fly and fight overseas. Soon, the women were doing nearly every job a male pilot did except combat missions, and they did it for less pay, but no lack of patriotism. They only wanted to do their part to quickly end the fighting in World War II. Although Mary's first assignment was the Air Transport Command headquarters at Newcastle Air Base in Delaware, within weeks orders began quickly sending her from one Army airfield to another. You see, she was the first WASP ever assigned to the Coffeyville Army Airfield in southern Kansas, one of the Army's newest basic flight training schools. There she taught young men to fly and also flew as a utility pilot. By late summer of 1944, she was at her 5th base, flying as an engineering test pilot and flight instructor at Perrin Army Air Base near Sherman, Texas. On August 14, 1944, 18 months after graduation, the sky was clear, winds from the south were light, and temperatures were simmering towards 103 degrees. Mary took off in a BT-13 from the Perrin Airfield with Staff Sergeant Orville Eitzen in the rear seat as an observer. This was a basic flight test just to check out the plane's recently repaired radio. About 11 miles north of the runway, the aircraft suddenly stalled and spun into the ground. There were no witnesses, and the cause of that crash that killed both Mary and Orville was never determined. When found, both had their harnesses unfastened as if they were preparing to jump, but for some reason, they never got the chance. WASP Starley Grona, also stationed at Perrin Field, said that because Mary Hartson had crashed, many members of the male flying personnel at the field refused to ever go up with a WASP again. This attitude, she said, is stupid and prejudiced, but it still casts an unfavorable light on the WASP program as a whole. Orville Eitzen had married just 2 years earlier. He was returned to his wife's hometown of Shenandoah, Iowa, and was buried in Elmwood Cemetery, about 11 miles southeast of the town he knew so well. Mary Hartson came home to Portland for a funeral service and the placing of her ashes in a Portland mausoleum. She was only 27 years old. Thank you, Mary, Thank you for your service. Thank you for watching. This is another in the series Sacrifice for Country. True stories of just one of the 38 women Air Force Service pilots, the WASP, who died while flying in World War II. And maybe you'll subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Have a great day and an even better tomorrow.